Hey guys, tonight we're going back in time to a place with corsets, chamber pots, and absolutely zero HR departments. We're diving into what life was really like as a servant in Victorian England. Think Downton Abbey? Think again. This isn't polite tea sipping with Lady Whoever. This is back-breaking, soul-draining labor in a house where you're seen, but never heard. Unless you're being screamed at for polishing the silver wrong. So grab a cup of tea, or better yet, pour one out for your ancestors. Because by the end of this, you'll realize you wouldn't survive a single day. Congratulations. It's 1852. You are now the help. The good news, you're employed. The bad news, so is every waking hour of your life. You wake up not to birds chirping or a soft alarm, but to the shrill ring of the servant's bell, signaling the start of your shift. And by shift, I mean your entire existence. It's 4:30 a.m. You sleep in the attic, if you're lucky, or in a crawl space beneath the stairs, next to buckets of coal and a rat named Jeremy, who honestly works less than you. Your bed? A straw sack. Your blanket? A thin sheet made from recycled disappointment. Your privacy? Non-existent. There's a reason no one wrote servant love stories. Back then, romance requires free time and teeth. You throw on your one uniform, which you've been wearing since 1847. It smells like soot, soap, and generational trauma. And now, it's time to light the fireplaces. All of them, before the family wakes up. It's freezing. Your fingers are numb. Your knees hurt. You're 19, and your body already thinks it's 70. Breakfast? You don't eat. You serve. You shuffle down into the kitchens, where cook is already yelling about goose fat and someone stealing her apron again. Spoiler, it was the mice. You help prepare a 5-course breakfast that you will not be eating. The family gets fresh eggs, toast, jams, sausage, and tea served on china. You get the crust of yesterday's bread. Maybe porridge, if the dog didn't eat it first. You eat standing up, in a corner, behind a curtain, like a Victorian cryptid. And then, before you can even burp, you're off. Scrubbing floors, polishing shoes, hauling chamber pots. Yes, those. Let's talk about those. The chamber pot, the most personal item you'll ever carry that isn't yours. There is no indoor plumbing. The family relieves themselves in ceramic bowls, which you carry by hand down narrow hallways, full to the brim with the upper class's digestive decisions. You are the human plumbing system, and God help you if you spill a drop. Once you've disposed of the morning souvenirs, you haul buckets of water upstairs so the lady of the house can wash her face without knowing what effort is. You draw baths, heat water over fires, and try not to pass out from the steam. And no, you don't get a bath. You get a rag. And a quiet moment behind the scullery door once a week. If that. Hierarchy? Oh, it's a nightmare pyramid. And you're at the bottom. There's the butler, the housekeeper, the lady's maid, the valet. And then there's you, the scullery maid, or the boot boy, or the hallway ghost. You're the lowest of the low. Your boss has a boss, and that boss has a boss, and none of them care that you haven't slept since Tuesday. And if you're a woman, congratulations. You're also expected to be emotionally invisible while scrubbing menstrual stains out of lace, using soap made from ashes and beef fat. Working hours? Yes, all of them. You don't work 9 to 5. You work wake to collapse. 18 hours a day. No weekends, no sick days. And absolutely no complaining. Have a cough? Tough. Sprained your ankle falling down the cellar steps? Wrap it in a dish rag and keep serving. Your body is not a temple. It's a tool, a disposable one. If you're seen resting, you're scolded. If you're not seen at all, you're accused of slacking. And if you make noise, breathe too loud, or God forbid, break a plate, you're out. Fired. Back on the streets. No references. No hope. Pay? Barely. Respect? Less. You earn maybe £12 a year. That's enough to buy some socks, and maybe rent half a broom closet in London. The rest goes to your family, because you're the lucky one who has a job. You're expected to send money home, keep your mouth shut, and age quietly. Meanwhile, your employer's dog eats better than you. And if you so much as look at a family member sideways, you're called uppity and replaced before you can spell resignation. Romance, only if you're okay with it being tragic. Flirting with another servant? Forbidden. Getting caught with the master's son? Fatal. If you're a woman and you get pregnant, you vanish. No questions. You go from servant to cautionary tale overnight. If you're a man, your crime is seduction. If you're a woman, your crime is existing. So why did people stay? Because there was no safety net, no welfare, no job boards, no social mobility. Being a servant was survival. It was this or the streets. And the streets of Victorian England didn't have happy endings. They had workhouses, typhoid, and chimney sweeps the size of soup cans. So, after 18 hours of humiliation, it's time for bed. You crawl back into your itchy straw mattress. Your hands are blistered. Your feet are numb. Your soul left somewhere between the third fireplace and the 15th spoon you polished. You fall asleep to the sound of rats fighting over crumbs. You dream of butter. And then, 2 hours later, the servant's bell rings again. It's 4:30 a.m. Time to start all over. So, how'd your first day go? Did you enjoy the unfiltered toast crumbs? Did you love being yelled at by someone named Lady Petunia because her napkin had a wrinkle? Did the raw knuckles and silent suffering really make you feel alive? Welcome to life as a Victorian servant, where you live to serve and die forgotten, where your value is measured in polished silver and how quiet your footsteps are, where you are seen only when needed and blamed when anything goes wrong. But here's the twist through all of this. People still endured. They still laughed in corners, sang in basements, passed down stories and recipes and hope. They stole moments of humanity between scouring pots and scrubbing boots. Not because the job was noble, but because they were. So, tonight, when you toss your socks in the hamper and set your alarm for 9 a.m., spare a moment for the ones who woke up at 4:30 in silence and frost and made someone else's life beautiful. You wouldn't survive a day, but they survived decades. Not because it was easy, because it was necessary. And they did it with blistered hands and unbreakable spirit. Let's say you mess up just once. What happens? You drop a plate. Not a fancy one, just the dessert plate with the family crest that Lady Petunia claims was blessed by the Queen, or whatever. Instant silence. You freeze. The butler glares. The family stares at you, like you just murdered a swan in front of them. Your apology doesn't matter. Because in this world, there are no second chances. You'll be yelled at in front of the other servants, maybe docked a week's pay, maybe fired on the spot. Maybe if Lady Petunia's in a mood, accused of theft just for fun. And if you're a woman, oh, especially if you're a woman, there's always that lingering threat. That warning from older maids, don't be alone with the master, ever. Because here's something they never show in the costume dramas. You are not safe. Not from punishment, not from power, and not from the whims of the wealthy. The family, they live like demigods off your invisible labor. They host grand dinners for people who can't remember your name. They wear white gloves while you bleach their linens with lye that burns your skin. They sip champagne and gossip about poor people while you're literally 2 floors below, sweating over an iron. They talk about the help like you're a species. They call you lucky for being allowed in the house. They donate to charity while paying you starvation wages and writing it off as tradition. The hypocrisy is not a glitch in the system. It is the system. And when one of them has a tantrum about the soup being too beige, you get blamed. You who didn't even make the soup, just served it with a burned hand from carrying the tureen. And when they're done using you, they don't remember you. There are no retirement plans for servants. No pensions, no thank you cards. You serve for 30 years, and the day you become too old to carry the trays, you're simply replaced. They might let you stay in the attic until you die. They might not. Your name isn't written down. Your stories aren't preserved. You vanish, like steam off the morning wash. But they'll keep the tea set you polished. And tell guests it's been in the family for generations. But still the servants endure. Why? Because they have each other. Behind those heavy wooden doors, there's a whole secret world. A glance across the dining room that says, I saw you sneak that biscuit. I won't tell. A shared joke in the pantry. A lullaby sung softly while folding sheets. There's resistance, too. The underbutler who spits in the master's wine when no one's looking. The maid who switches Lady Petunia's lavender oil with vinegar. Tiny acts of rebellion. Petty, beautiful, necessary. Because when you have no control over your life, even a crumb of mischief is freedom. You're not just surviving the work, you're surviving the erasure. And that's the hardest part. Not the cold, not the pain, not even the exhaustion. It's knowing that the world will never remember your name. But you still wake up, still scrub, still light the fires, still carry dignity like it's the only thing they can't take. Because even if they don't write your name in history books, you existed. You mattered. And every polished spoon is proof. It's finally nighttime, but don't get too excited. You made it through another day. Barely. Your arms feel like sacks of grain. Your legs are numb. And your back? It's officially shaped like a question mark. But at last, it's time to sleep. To rest. To recharge. Except, no, it's not. Because medieval night isn't peaceful. It's not calm. It's terrifying. Darkness isn't just a vibe. It's a threat. There's no street lighting, no bedside lamp, no warm glow from your phone screen. When the sun sets, it's pitch black. The kind of black where your own hand in front of your face looks like a ghost. You light a tallow candle, maybe, but it smells like rancid beef fat and melts like sadness. You'd use it sparingly, if at all, because candles are expensive. So most people go to bed with nothing but the sound of rats in the walls and their own thoughts eating them alive. And those thoughts, they're loud. Because night is when the dread creeps in. The plague, the hunger, the landlord who wants more tax, the child who hasn't stopped coughing. There's nothing to distract you. No music, no books, no memes. Just the soft drip of water leaking through the thatch roof. And the deep, medieval knowledge that tomorrow might not come. And sleep, it's a full contact sport. Your mattress is still a pile of straw, but now it's damp. Your blanket, stiff with last week's sweat. You curl up next to your entire family, all crammed into the same bed, like bread loaves in a dying oven. There's snoring. There's farting. There's fleas playing hopscotch on your scalp. And there's that one uncle who hasn't bathed since Easter, last Easter. You close your eyes and try to sleep. But you're itchy and cold and hungry. And even when you finally drift off, you dream of wolves or war or demons poking you with sticks. Because, let's not forget, this is a deeply religious, deeply superstitious world. Your nightmares aren't just dreams. They're warnings. You wake up sweating, whispering a prayer, clutching a charm made from goat bones and regret. And no, you can't just go back to sleep. Because it's now 2 a.m. and someone outside is screaming. Could be a drunk, could be a thief, could be a literal witch hunt. You don't check. Because opening your door at night is a medieval version of Russian roulette. And if you're a woman, night is worse. You don't get to fall asleep. You stay alert, half awake, because you know how thin the walls are. You know how drunk your husband got. You know what happens when the village priest visits your cottage unannounced. Night is when secrets become screams, when pain hides behind closed doors, and when nobody is coming to save you. Morning can't come soon enough, and sometimes it doesn't. People die in the night. From illness, from childbirth, from being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You might wake up to find your neighbor's house silent. Permanently. Or find that your cousin slipped into fever and never came back. There's no ambulance, no emergency line, just whispered prayers and the hope that death skips your hut this time. So, yes, it's nighttime. And yes, you've survived another medieval day. But survival doesn't clock out when the sun sets. In the Middle Ages, rest isn't guaranteed. Sleep is a gamble. And the dark is where the worst things wait. So, how was your day? You woke up in filth. You worked yourself half to death. You ate sadness stew, scratched lice out of your armpits, dodged disease, prayed under threat of fire, and finally collapsed in a pile of hay next to a screaming infant and a goat. And you get to do it all again tomorrow. If you're lucky. Because in the Middle Ages, luck is the closest thing to a healthcare plan. And yet, somehow, they lived. They endured. They sang. They made art. They told stories by firelight and clung to hope like it was all they had, because it was. They didn't have antibiotics, but they had lullabies. They didn't have freedom, but they had each other. And even in the filth fear, and famine, they kept going. Not because it was easy, but because giving up wasn't an option. So tonight, when you flush your toilet, plug in your phone, or pop an ibuprofen, pause. Feel your clean sheets. Drink your cold water. And be grateful you weren't born in 1325. Because no matter how bad your Monday was, at least you didn't have to scream, "Guardy Lou," before dumping your family's collective waste out the window. You live in a world with toothpaste, with vaccines, with thermostats, with coffee. And that, my friend, makes you richer than 99% of medieval nobility ever dreamed of being. So sleep easy tonight. The lice won't bite. The leeches won't visit. And the only plague in your bed is that one guy who refuses to put his phone on silent. You'll survive, because you were not built for the Middle Ages. And that's okay. They survived, so you wouldn't have to. Good night.